gonna wait for the Tour de France to go past.
Looking good, guys. Looking good.
What's going on, guys? My name is Ben and welcome back to another video. I am out today, of course, in my new Porsche Boxster S, and I have been joined by road trip passenger Joel, who's brought along his E85 Z4. So since I took, since I've owned the Porsche in the short amount of time which I have, quite a few people have messaged me and asked which I prefer, this or a Z4. And I, of course, owned the E85 like Joel, except for mine was the crap engine. And then I owned the 35IS recently. So it'll be quite good to do a kind of comparison between the two cars, as they are, yours is 2004, mine's 2005, so they're about the same age.
Yep.
Yeah, it'd be quite good to do a comparison on the both cars and kind of give you guys a kind of insight on which one you should buy if you're in the market and you're not quite sure what to go for, either the Z4 or the Porsche. So, shall we first start with specs? If we hit on the brake horsepower kind of comparison, this being the S has 280 brake horsepower, or it did 14 years ago.
And it is yours is like the
Mine's the 3.2.
The 0.1. Yeah.
0.1, because in kind of, I believe, 2007, they did facelift this car and then upgrade the engine to a 3.4, which had 300 brake horsepower, but no, this is the first.
Yeah, like 310.
Yes,
15, yeah.
This is like the first of the facelift Boxsters. So mine has, on paper, 280 brake horsepower, and apparently will do 0 to 60 in around 6 seconds.
Yes.
Which, although on paper this car does have more horsepower than yours.
I'm 231 brake horsepower. Yeah, on paper the 0 to 60 time is 5.9.
So they are very, very similar, and I think when we go out and drive the cars, you know, I think they'll be quite closely matched. And even driving down here with you earlier, yeah, we were quite neck and neck. Absolutely. So it's quite a fair comparison, despite the you know, the kind of more horsepower on paper, say 280 to 230.
If this was an SI, you'd be looking at 260 brake horsepower.
So they'd be even closer.
5.6, 5.7 0 to 60 times. There's not much in it.
It's slightly unfair.
Yeah.
But we don't have access to an SI.
No.
And Joel was
too poor to buy one.
There we go. And Joel was the only guy I could find on a Saturday. No, I don't. No.
Top speed, obviously, this is limited to 155. I believe yours would be 165, 167, something like that. Yeah,
I thought it was about the 160s, 165. I did read it was like 160.
Okay.
So again, very close. Yeah, well, down there on the way home.
No, you're not.
No, we're not. Right. On the kind of weight front, if we talk about MPG, because that is also something to consider, and also road tax, which we'll get onto in a minute.
Okay.
So on the motorway, I get around 33.5 at about 75.
Okay. If I'm driving lazily, I'd probably get around the same. If I'm really, really trying hard to be economical, I'm using my cruise control, anticipating hills, whatever, I can get over 40 miles per gallon. In fact, when I drive quite long distances at the weekends, perhaps to come film videos, I often see 42, 43 miles per gallon. That's when I'm really trying. As soon as you turn off the motorway, it'll drop. But I average, my long-term average is around 31, 32.
So very, very similar again, but also I'm yet to see the 40s in this. But this car also doesn't have cruise control fitted, unfortunately. So maybe me varying the speed has some effect on that as well. Driver. Or maybe I'm a bad driver.
Yeah. So Ben's asked me to talk you guys through the sort of creature comforts or interior features of my Z4. So where to start really? There's quite a few things given that this is a 2004 car. In terms of inside the car, I've got a cup holder which I retrofitted. There's normally two, but this just has the one on my side. 6-speed manual, no heated seats in this. That was an option from factory. Unfortunately, my particular example doesn't have heated seats. Various storage compartments. It's not too good. The door bins are far, far less superior than Ben's. I've got small door bins, some storage behind the seat, and then also a sort of fold down storage compartment under the wind deflector. I've got cruise control, as Ben mentioned earlier, which is fantastically handy. In fact, I went for cruise control over heated seats. That was more important to me. Air conditioning, as you'd expect. dynamic stability control. I've got 2 settings for that. I can have dynamic traction control on, which limits the slip a little bit, and then I can turn it all the way off, which is always a lot of fun. I have a sport button, which is, I mainly drive with that on actually. All that does is stiffen the steering somewhat, and really actually makes quite a big difference to the throttle response. So it becomes very sharp and aggressive when you turn the sport button on. Apart from that, I think that is basically it. I've got automatic wipers and automatic lights, but that's more or less it. Sound system's okay, nothing special. You can get a subwoofer behind the seats, but mine has the storage. But yeah, quite a lot of things actually for a 2004 car. At the end of the day, it's a 2-seater convertible, so it's not necessarily the be-all and end-all what you've got inside the car, but it is enough to keep me happy and to keep me daily in the car.
So then, after looking at the interior creature comforts of the Z4, let's move over to the Porsche Boxster. So it's not bad in here. I do believe Porsche have many packages when you spec these cars that you have to tick. So I will go through what I have. I suppose one difference over the E85 is I have a clear wind deflector, which definitely helps kind of visibility, definitely when you look in your mirror, whereas the E85 has a mesh one, which kind of blocks your view. Interior creature comforts, the seats go forward, and they have like a little coat hook on the back, which is very handy. Unlike Joel, I don't have the storage bins behind the seats. However, if you get a Boxster that doesn't have the Bose sound system, you do have a storage thing kind of here in the middle of the seats. This car unfortunately doesn't have cruise control, which is quite sad. This car wasn't spec'd with it, but kind of like my E85, my E89, I may have to retrofit it if I can find one. Again, I don't have stereo steering wheel controls on the wheel, however, it is an option. Stereo, standard. Joel's is aftermarket, which I don't blame him because I don't have Bluetooth or an aux input, which is very annoying. My car is fitted with the heated seats, which I think, especially coming into, that was an E92 M3, I like those. Gonna hear him gun it down that road in a minute. Anyway, I think in a kind of a convertible, if you want to enjoy the car in winter, personally, I like heated seats, and I didn't buy one, a Porsche Boxster, the fact it didn't have heated seats. So this is quite a good spec. Again, like Joel, I have cup holders. I have 2, which is very handy, although you can get them in his as well. Storage in this car, I briefly touched on it. It doesn't have the kind of thing behind the seats, which is kind of useless, I think, but it does have these rather clever kind of bins inside the door, which I would say are a damn sight bigger than what you find in the E85. And of course, I have the front and rear boot, like I mentioned earlier, so luggage space is quite large as well. However, I think we have gone through all the specs of this car. We should go out in both of the cars and see what they both drive like and give you guys a comparison between the two. Right then guys, so before we head out in both of the cars, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone who has subscribed and is supporting the channel. The Fiesta ST build has just come to an end, and sadly that car is now no longer with us. I will make a video at a later date explaining to you where that car went and the kind of ins and outs of it as well as a costs video, because I know a lot of you were interested in knowing how much it takes to rebuild a crashed car like that. But as a small token of my appreciation, as a thank you for the support, I have had made these Ben Rain stickers, which I would love to send out to you guys. They are available in black and white, so if you would like one, slide into my DMs on Instagram and I will post one to you. Once you have one, I will, of course, if you take a photo, I will, of course, then repost it on my page. So again, just a small token of my appreciation. I only have a limited number of these available, so if you like one, be quick as they are going very, very fast. But with that said, let's not waste any more time, jump in both the cars and tell you guys which one you should buy. Right then, so I think we should start with the Z4. It's quite nice to be in one of these. If you scroll down all my videos, you will see that I, of course, used to own an E85. So it is quite familiar in here. One thing that's very apparent, and I can hear even when it's idling, Joel has had a back box delete. So the exhaust is very loud, but following you earlier, it's a very nice sound and it just crack and pop a lot. So it's a contender for the Boxster. I do need to do some more research and see what that sounds like. Instantly, handling wise, it does lean more than the Boxster, which is kind of a given based on the weight management and distribution and bits like that. Also, your exhaust is loud, but it's not intrusive, which is what I was quite worried about with a straight pipe. So yeah, maybe, and if I whack it in 6th, it's quite quiet.
Yeah.
So then again, I am kind of persuaded to do that on my car.
I think you should.
Especially as it's a weekend car, so it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. I daily this and it's fine. I mean, the thing is with the back box thing, your car sounds brilliant. Like the sound it makes, the tone it makes is really nice. Getting rid of the back box just accentuates that like times 3 or 4. So
True, yeah.
that's why I'd recommend it.
But however, I think that needs to be touched on in another video. Purely, the way this car drives, like we mentioned, it doesn't grip, kind of, there's more body roll. Your steering feels lighter, as does your clutch, and your gearbox isn't as, I'd say, notchy. It's notchy in the Porsche, whereas this seems a lot
Really
more fluid. Yeah, it's a nice box. The steering's lighter, the clutch is lighter, and just going around corners, you do move ever so slightly more in your seat. But again, this isn't a bad handling car by any means. Ride is about the same. So they're both cars are very fairly similarly matched. So it is actually a closer comparison than we initially thought.
Yeah.
And then of course, your bloody exhaust, which I'm trying to mute down to try and make it a kind of fair test. But if I just drop it down to 3rd.
Put it in 2nd.
Don't have to tell me twice. Stupid.
It's brilliant. I would say on the acceleration front, because we haven't really spoken about that in the car, having driven your Boxster today actually, it doesn't really feel like much until you get to the top end where your Boxster engine just wakes up and gets manic.
Yeah.
It almost feels like you're going way faster than you are
this
when you're in those revs, whereas this is a lot more progressive. It feels fast now, and it feels fast now.
Yeah, it's
your
very...
Boxster only wakes up at 4,000, 5,000 RPM, at which point it feels faster than this.
So this is very kind of awake, is the way I would describe it. It feels like whatever RPM, the torque is there, it will pull you through. Whereas the Boxster is mainly over, say, 3,500, 4,000 revs.
I'd agree.
So it kind of comes alive in the higher RPM, whereas even 2,000 RPM, this will, it will pull. Maybe it's more torquey. So the more I drive this car, the more apparent the different handling characteristics become. I think mainly as this is front engine, you have a lot of weight on the front wheels, whereas in the Boxster, when you accelerate, the steering does feel like it's going lighter ever so slightly, whereas you've got more weight over the front axle. Also, the front end turning is, I'd say, more direct in the Porsche. Again, so much better handling car, I'd say. Not that this is crap, because it isn't. And definitely when you accelerate, it's the engine placement again. This feels like it's dragging you, like pulling you up the road, whereas obviously the engine placement in the Porsche being behind you feels like it's pushing you. So again, that's probably down to preference on what you would prefer. But as far as handling goes, the Porsche is the winner, I think, quite clearly, mainly by the engine placement and maybe the steering rack it has in it.
Yeah.
It's just that ever so slightly quicker when it turns in.
Yours is hydraulic as well, isn't it, the steering?
Yeah.
And whereas this is electric.
This is probably why this is quite light then.
Yeah, and there's also, I feel there's a little bit of delay before much happens. Whereas yours
there's a bit more kind of play in it.
Yeah.
However, this is probably quite a good aspect if you are dailying the car. This seems more lighter and easier to use, like with the gearbox and the steering and the clutch.
Yeah.
So again, it's down to what you prefer. You can definitely drive the Porsche every day, but you just need to know it is a bit more kind of
hands-on.
Yeah, it's a bit more involved, maybe. Yeah, especially with the steering and the gearbox. But let's jump on over to the Porsche to to see how that compares to this Z4. So then, we are now inside my Porsche Boxster S, and instantly, after driving your car, Joel, I can tell you that the clutch and the steering is very, very heavy. Not very heavy, it's not too bad.
In comparison.
In comparison. Acceleration, as far as that goes, as we mentioned, the kind of where the drama happens is over around 4,000 RPM in this.
Yeah.
On paper, this is faster. I would say it's a tiny bit faster than yours. It's not ludicrously faster than yours.
Yeah, I think it's when you get above that rev range, it becomes
it's like the
very
sweet
fast.
spot.
Yeah.
Once you get it kind of past 4, and once it starts climbing and climbing and climbing, that's when the car opens up, becomes an absolute animal.
Yes.
And straight away, my steering feels like there's less play. It's very direct, and going around these corners with the placement of the engine being in the middle, the car corners a lot flatter, and I'm not really falling out of my seat. So this is a night and day difference on how much better this handles compared to yours. Not saying your car handles crap. If you were to buy a Z4, you would not be disappointed. It's just for the purposes of this comparison video.
It's different characteristics.
Exactly.
This is mid-engine. It'd be a lot harder to get the back out on this car.
Yeah.
High speed around corners. If you're trying to do a tiny lap around a track, it's going to be faster. It's going to be more planted. If you want to take my car and have a bit of fun and slide it around some roundabouts,
it'd be a lot easier.
Easy.
Yeah.
No weight at the back.
Yes.
Skinny little tyres.
Yeah.
Happy days.
Whereas the tyres in this are also quite fat. With the gearbox as well, I've noticed your box is a lot more fluid. The gears seem to slide in rather nicely, whereas this seems more mechanical, more notchy. So that's another thing to consider and compare.
And I drove this today, and yeah, it's just the gearbox for me, and also the feel of the pedal, especially the throttle pedal, isn't quite as responsive as the Z4 and as I would like.
Yes.
The gearbox for me is the big drawback for these cars. It works very, very well, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's just the feel of it isn't quite as nice or fluid, is a good word, as the Z4.
Yeah, and
I found the same in the 911 as well.
Yeah, so it must be just a kind of a Porsche thing.
Yeah.
How the cars are set up, and I did notice it when I first drove it. I was like, to get it into gear, it kind of seems like click, click, click.
And you've got to go all the way over there.
Yeah. So that's just another thing to consider is the box. It's no means a bad box, it's just not as fluid as yours. Right then, let's go down the notchy ass gearbox into second gear, 30 miles an hour. Straight up to 6,000 RPM. Oh. Okay. I take it back, this car is faster than yours. I just was driving it like a little bit of a pussy. Let's be frank, yeah, I'm sorry, this car's quicker than yours.
I don't know, I think it is quicker, definitely past 5,000 RPM.
Yeah.
You've got a whole nother, basically,
lower down
RPM
lower down it definitely isn't, but
I think in a drag race this would win.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the stat that you found of 6.1 to 60 for this car, I think that's wrong.
Yeah.
I think it's probably more like 5.6.
It is a quick car.
Having driven both, I feel like this is a lot quicker past 4,000 RPM than my car.
Yeah, it seems like the engine is at its sweet spot again over the 4,000 RPM. It's like you've got to rag it to get the most out of it. So to enjoy this car at its peak is in the higher RPMs, and you've got to get it there.
Yeah.
And then once you get there, the speed just increases, and of course the sound from the exhaust builds up and up and up, and it encourages you to leave it in a lower gear because the adrenaline it gives you is quite good. It is fantastic.
Yeah, it's good fun.
And interior, I feel this is, I know they're both the same age cars, but I would say this is a bit more modern in comparison. The dials are a far better kind of trait from the E85.
More digital screens as well.
Yeah, digital speedo.
I want to drive it again now.
Do you want to drive it back?
Yeah, why not?
Before we actually pull over, I thought I'd give Joel a quick blip in the Boxster just to get his thoughts on the car. And of course, Joel doesn't hold back when he drives a car, so he goes full out. So I haven't actually driven this car in anger like this before, so this is going to be quite interesting.
What the car was designed to do, but
true, I'm still getting used to it, whereas he just jumps in it.
Happier. More and more that I push it along.
So, what do you personally think of this car compared to your Z4?
Compared to my Z4, I think all in all this is a better car. I think it's a Porsche. It's got the badge. I think it is faster.
Yeah.
It's obviously got an not unlimited, but non-restricted top speed. And because of the handling characteristics, this being mid-engined, it grips a lot better, and you do feel a lot more going through your hands in the form of the steering wheel. Need to get rid of that back box though.
Yeah. Your car is loud, but as I drove it earlier, it's fine. And I did back box delete my E85 as well.
Yeah.
So I just got to do it, ain't I? But yeah, even the exhaust comes alive and fizzes in the higher RPMs. And even now I can feel it going around these corners. Ooh, yes. Sounded good, that did.
That was savage.
Going around these... Woo! Sounds great, this, doesn't it?
Nuts.
Could sound better though, but go around the corners, it handles so flat, like it's on rails.
Yeah, it really does.
That's the best way to describe the handling characteristics of this car.
It lacks that lower down torque.
It does, yeah.
But once you get through that lack of power,
Yeah.
the higher RPMs reward you.
They do, yeah. This seems to be a more rewarding car once, again, we keep banging on about it, once you get it up to that sweet spot, which is over 4,000 RPM,
Yeah.
and it does climb, it does rev very high. Right then guys, so after spending a day driving each other's cars, we thought we'd pull over and try our very best to provide some useful consumer advice to you guys as to which car you should buy if you are in the market for one of these. So I think it's only fair to start with Joel. So what did you think of my new Boxster S compared to your car? Because you obviously drive your car daily. How did this kind of compare?
Yeah, so the Boxster S, obviously it's a bit up on power, and I think you find that power and you feel that power above sort of 4,000 RPM. Once you get above that, it feels really fast actually, and it's extremely rewarding. The engine gets louder, everything livens up, and it's almost quite scary actually because the steering gets a little bit lighter, but you've really got to think about what you're doing in the Porsche. It's more of a driver's focused car.
Yes.
And I think that obviously it being mid-engined, as we've spoken about a lot in this video, it does handle and stick to the road better.
Yeah.
Having said that, obviously the Z4 does grip very well, and because the engine's in the front and there's not much weight at the back, you could certainly turn traction control off and have a bit more fun in that, let's say. But yeah, I mean, the Z4 is still a great car in its own right. I think it lends itself better to being a daily. It's more comfortable to drive. I find it's easier to drive. The gearbox is nicer to use.
Definitely, even I noticed that.
Yeah.
So that is again like a night and day difference on how much more fluid and kind of silky smooth your gearbox is compared to the notchiness of the Porsche. Personally, because obviously I've owned an E85 as well before, and then of course an E89, and then of course now this Boxster. I'm actually pleasantly surprised at how close the two cars are, both in performance, and the BM's very, very capable by, you know, even by today's standards. However, the Porsche, I feel, just has that little edge over that car, and has what, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I feel the Porsche feels more special, more of an occasion. It obviously handles a lot better. And like just little quirky things like having a boot at the front is very cool. It's a bit of like a wow factor. It's quite, you know, unique in its own right, especially for a car in this kind of price bracket.
Yeah.
So it is a tough one. By all means, if you went and purchased an E85, you will be no means be disappointed at all. It's my kind of feedback on that car. It is a very good car, and obviously the modifications you've done, mainly with the back box and just removing it, is hilarious. The backfires of this is crazy.
It sounds brilliant,
and it's fantastic. It's definitely made me think about doing mine, although I don't think it will backfire like this does. I don't know. We'll see.
You'll have to find out, won't you?
We'll have to find out, so stay tuned. But my personal preference, if you want to spend that extra extra $1, I would personally say go for the Porsche. It sounds bad, but again, it's the badge as well, owning a Porsche. And then just the way this car opens up and comes alive in the higher RPMs, it's just fantastic. It's such a good car to drive. It is incredibly fast and it just glues to the road like nothing else. Downside, again, the gearbox, the clutch and the steering's quite heavy, and the front end goes ever so slightly light due to the kind of unique engine placement of this car. So again, it depends what you guys want. If you want to save some money and still get a great car, a car which I would argue is more dailyable, it's lighter, it's easier to drive and it's easier to park, then go for the Z4. But if you've kind of want to stretch that a little bit further and you want more engagement and want to connect with the car a bit more, and maybe it's just a weekend car anyway, then I would recommend the Porsche Boxster S.
And I would agree.
There we go. We're fairly...
That's a wrap.
That is a wrap. But anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed the content we have created for you today. Again, Joel has also made a video on my Boxster S, so head over to his channel to check that out. Big thanks to you, Joel, for... What were you going in for? Regular? Yes.
So I just deliberately thought I'd make that all.
I can tell, yeah. So he had to sabotage my video one way or another. I hope you enjoyed thrashing the living daylights out of my new car.
I did indeed.
Something I am still yet to do. But it's been fun. Thank you for coming down to film.
Pleasure.
We always have a lot of fun filming together. And of course, I haven't seen you since April. So see you in another 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
See you soon, buddy.
But again, if you have enjoyed this video, then do be sure to give it a thumbs up and make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you do not miss out on any of the upcoming content that I am going to churn out with this Boxster S. But from me and Joel, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.